Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back, and let's chat about what is happening up in the sky above us. And today we're taking a look not only at what's going on in the sky above us, but we're also taking a look at what the seventh house meaning is in your astrology chart, which means we'll take a couple of charts and look at them and see if we can't see in live motion what is going on in people's seventh houses. And today I don't have a ton of things to do, a ton of things to say. So maybe we'll have an opportunity to take a look at a couple of charts while we're at it. Yay. So then let's start with what is going on for today. We have the moon in Gemini still. The moon in Gemini today is coming into contact in a positive way with the sun and in a little bit of a scritchy way with Neptune and a positive way with Mars. So if you say that 2 out of the 3 connections are positive, well, then today is definitely likely going to be a pretty good day with just a couple of little blips along the way for you to be aware of. So today the moon in Gemini comes into a trine with the sun. A trine is a 120-degree angle, which specifies a relationship of ease and flow where the energies smoothly go back and forth between the 2 planets. And right now with the moon in air and the sun in air, we see we have a matching element, and that's what drives a trine, is that they're in the same element. So they really understand one another. It is an energy of information and sharing. So what we see is the moon and the sun sharing energy that gives us a confident feel to the day, that we're able to really be feeling like we know what we're talking about, that we know what we're doing, and that, everything's moving in a very right direction in our life. It feels right to us. And if it feels right, it probably is right, correct. Another word from human design, it's correct for you. So today, then, follow that feeling that allows you to see and tap into what's perfect, right? What is right for you? And then feeling more confident about that. Now, just a bit later after that particular transit happens, and this is this morning, by the way, then the moon comes into a square with the planet Neptune. And Neptune, it is one of delusion and illusion. It muddies things up or makes it foggy, hard to understand. And that happens later. So we may not understand what our emotional feelings are or what's driving our maybe moods. Maybe moods are changing and we're not quite clear what that is. So it might be somewhat in the middle of the day, not time to make big moves if you do not have clarity. So that's the thing, right? With any square to Neptune, clarity kind of goes out the window and you're having to tap into more of your intuition or your instinctual self. And if you can do that, then it puts you in the right position or in the right place. But if you expect your mind, which likely we might feel this way with the moon in Gemini, if we expect our mind to be able to get us through whatever it is we're getting through, we might be a little bit disappointed because the mind may be a little mucked up today. Confusion, maybe a little dreaminess or daydreaminess, like where you've just nodded off and you've gone somewhere else in your head, and then have to snap back into reality. So that's probably the strongest aspect sandwiched in the middle of the day. Finally, toward the end of the day, we have the moon in Gemini in a sextile relationship to Mars. Now, remember, Mars is retrograde, so the action is less likely to be about propelling us forward and more about us taking stock and looking within, seeing where it is that we might need to reimagine ourselves, where we might need to redirect our energies. So it gives us this opportunity to reevaluate our actions to make sure that our desires are aligned with what it is we're doing, or conversely, to make sure that what we're doing is in alignment with our desire. What if what you're doing is exactly counter to what you really want in your life? Well, that's a possibility. I know that some family members of mine are experiencing this right now, but anybody can do anything that they need to do in the short term until you get clarity about what it is that you need to, what new direction that you might need to move into. And actually, that's more favored after November. And even if you can eke it out a little longer until December, before you start on a new adventure or move into a new direction. So today is just another one of those days where we can maybe tap into what's really true for us, what really makes us feel good, what makes what emboldens us. That's a good word. What emboldens us to go out when we're feeling confident, when your hair looks good and your makeup's on and you're wearing clothes that feel good. You know how you feel, right? That you could conquer anything. So maybe today is about trying to get to that feeling of everything is firing on the right circuits. And even if I'm not seeing that I'm moving forward very fast, I can see that the work I'm doing behind the scenes is setting me up for what comes later on into the future. So that's it for the transits for the day. It makes it a pretty easy day. So I'm going to check in and say good morning to everybody. Hello, JLo and Amy and Jennifer Peachy and Mimi. Hello, Asa. Good morning to you. Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel. Good morning. And yes, I would like a card today. Debbie, today's Wednesday. We're not doing cards today. We'll do those tomorrow. Christine, good morning to you. Tati, good morning. And Leslie Zuber says good morning. She says she definitely needs a card today. Well, maybe we'll have time and we'll do a couple of those. Loanne, good morning. And Pauline, good morning. Mimi says, lovely start of the day. Flu shot done and nice rebate from my insurance of the last year. Woohoo! I love it. Love it. Love it. Our insurance company did something like that too, but in June, what was it? They took because people had been driving less during the lockdown, they gave us like a 25% rebate back on what we'd paid so far for the year. So it was kind of a nice boost. And so congratulations on that and have fun with that. Mary Stevens says hi from Santa Fe. Wow, I loved Santa Fe. Been there one time in my life, but I absolutely enjoyed it. We went to this place. It was like a big plaza. And I think there was a big Catholic church at one end and a bunch of shops running down the other sides. And the friend I was with said, you have to have, what did she call it? Frito pie, or I can't remember what it was, but essentially they take a bag of Fritos and they pour chili. They open up the bag and they pour chili into the bag of the Fritos and then put cheese or sour cream and toppings on top of it. It was so fantastic. That's my big takeaway from Santa Fe. They have good food and beautiful scenery too. Amy says, I offer my chart to look at as 7th house stellium. Ooh, good one. And Sylvester, grand rising, beautiful people, sending love and positive vibes. Love your hair, Janet. Thank you very much. It's getting very long. If you take a look here, I mean, it's probably below what the camera will even let you see. And I'm getting it cut next week, perhaps. We'll see. You can't even see. It's way down there. Ugh, it's driving me crazy. It's giving me headaches and neck aches. And so I know it's time. But I probably won't get it cut too short because I like to have the warmth on my neck, especially in the winter. But thank you, Sylvester. All right, so today's biggest news, the biggest news, which we talked about a bit yesterday, is Mercury in an opposition to the planet Uranus. So here's how I usually look at these things, right? We break them down, and you can do this in your own chart. If you have your chart with you, take a look at it. Mercury is a planet that represents communication, our minds, how we learn, our learning styles, whether we have learning disabilities and we have to learn in a different way, or whether we straight on learn. Maybe you learn visually, maybe you learn through hearing, maybe you have to actually touch and feel something in order to learn. So Mercury is often a planet that will show us what it is that how we think, how we talk, what we talk about, that kind of thing. And Mercury, as you know, is right now in the sign of Scorpio. And that means that he's come to a position now where he is opposing the planet Uranus in the sign of Taurus. Now, right now, if I look at it in a chart And this is just a chart of the moment, so it doesn't tell me too very much about what's going on by house, but I can see it's across the financial sector of the house, where of the chart, where Uranus is sitting in the 8th house. Remember, Uranus rules surprises, it rules upsets, it is about awakening to something, and often is presaged by a shock, a shocking event, something like that. So as I looked at this morning, I went, wow, there's likely going to be some kind of financial either upheaval, or it could be a surprise in a good way too, like Mimi getting an insurance check. I don't know if you expected to get that, Mimi, but if it came in, it was a surprise, a la Mercury and in an opposition to Uranus. So they are across a very deeply passionate, intense set of signs. Taurus on one end where Uranus is. And by the way, Uranus is not happy in Taurus. I'm not sure if we probably did talk about that years back when Taurus was first became the home of Uranus. And Taurus is a very solid, trustworthy, but unmovable sign, right? It's fixed in nature. So then you put a planet like Uranus into a sign like that. So a planet that likes freedom of motion, that likes to be liberated, that is an awakener, a shocker, a surprising kind of influence in our lives, in a sign that's fixed. And either you get a struggle to change or to to get forward, or you find the planet getting mired into the fixity of the sign, which creates conflict and frustration. Or what you see is the possibility of, at times, that liberating force breaking through the fixity. So that's where consequently we've had some ups and downs in our financial pictures, either in our own personal lives or in the world at large, the economy. So expect more of that up and down. Mercury bringing a message. And the message is also investigative, looking deeper into something, looking more for the cause of something. Like if you were a doctor, instead of just throwing medicine at the symptom, you would be looking deeper, like what's the cause of this unrest in your body? What's the cause of our unrest in our society, right? So the opposition pulls these two in opposite directions, right? So Uranus over here trying to break free, trying to liberate our minds, trying to liberate our finances, and Mercury on the other hand saying, but we got to look at the deeper part of this. In other words, we can't just topple the economy without really looking at all of the parts, all of the working parts, and how can we build something new and make it sustainable. So there's a sustainability factor here that Uranus doesn't particularly like. He's like, I want to get on with the show. And Mercury's over here going, but we got to slow it down a little bit. We got to look deeper. And he's the one getting ready to retrograde. So this is not the first time that we're going to hear this message of Mercury in an opposition to Uranus, because when he gets done with the retrograde, he will come back through here to the same place. Right now, he's going forward through it. When he hits retrograde, he'll retrograde back over it. And then when he goes forward again, he's going to go back over it. So today's news financially or investigatively has ramifications further on through this particular season. So be paying attention, be aware. What are you seeing out there? And what does that, spell for us for the next couple of hits by Mercury in an opposition to Uranus? Because I have a suspicion that it's setting the stage for what's to come as we move into 2021's Saturn squaring Uranus energy that will literally be with us for most of 2021, if not all of 2021, as both planets dance back and forth across one another and bringing, some struggles to birth whatever it is that we need to birth that's new. So anyway, pay attention. What's going on in your own chart, where this opposition is where you may be struggling in your own life to make things freer, but also to make things sustainable. And those things kind of sound like they're in opposite directions, right? Sustainable and free. right? Sustainable and free. They pull in opposite directions. But the fact of the matter is, we are creative beings and we can find a way to have sustainability, but also freedom in our lives, in our financial lives, or wherever this is happening in your own personal chart. Okay. Questions, comments, anything going on out there that I should know about? Patricia, could you check my chart today? Yep, I will. Asa, could you start making a check of names for me if you're out there? Jackie, good morning to you. And J-Lo says, I just found out my nephew, born on December 31st, had a son on the new moon, October 1st. Pretty cool energy there. Can't wait to really understand my own chart better so I know what my family energy is. It was interesting yesterday because, you know, I have a notebook over here that has my whole family, every one of their human design charts. I don't have all of their astrology charts together, but all of their human design charts. And I discovered yesterday that 6 out of the 17 of us in the closer in family are profiles 5-1, heretic investigators. And I just couldn't believe that I had never noticed how many of that type there are in our family. And it's an extraordinary sort of profile to have a really good bunch of potential leaders in the family here. And I just never noticed that. But also a lot of them are in one part of the family, like my daughter, her boyfriend, and her kid, 2 of her 4 kids, and then a son-in-law on the other side. So good leaders. And it was kind of fun to see that. So learning your own chart primary, but then, you know, don't hesitate to get charts of your other family members just to take a look at how are all of you weaved together in your family lineage. It's kind of fun to do that. Leilani says, good morning, you all, or hey, y'all. Leilani, I love that. Amy says, also, I made my hair appointment and imagine the 16th was the first available day. Amazing. Because wasn't that the day that Andrew said it was a good day to get hair? Oh, no, that was the 9th. Maybe I'll move my appointment to the 9th. Andy Girl says, Grand Rising, listening while I make some homemade soup. Ooh, sounds like fun. You guys, I made the best dinner last night. Oh my God, it was so awesome. It was a Hello Fresh meal. And imagine this. I would never have thought of putting apples and carrots together with some vinegar and mayonnaise, believe it or not, vinegar and mayonnaise mixed up, and with a little touch of some paprika and chili, and mix it all together. It made an apple carrot coleslaw. And I was dubious, right? I'm dubious because for one thing, I'm not a big carrot eater. I love apples, but carrots, yeah. The idea of a coleslaw, yeah. Put it together, it was yummy. So don't be afraid to mix up weird things. I mean, maybe that's the lesson we can all learn is there are new combinations of things. The pork that was with it came with a cherry jam like sauce that you made with cherry jam and with some of that paprika chili stuff. It was so good. I just couldn't believe I was making that. J-Lo, OMG, I think I like 1 degree off to mine. Opposite mine is 8-degree Taurus Mercury. Haha. Is that good or bad? Well, it's not good or bad. It's about how are you going to react to what's going on in your life? Ingrid, good morning to you. Pauline says Z. I'm not sure what that's all about. Asa, I have you goddess. I'm not sure she's talking to Amy. I think Christine Buckingham sounds good. Asa. Oh, okay. So you're taking the list. Thank you, sweetie. I so appreciate that. All right. So before we get way off topic, let's jump into the 7th house. I'm going to hold up here for one moment so I can share my screen with you. Probably should get back to the right place. There we go. And bring up downloads. 7th house. Now I can share my screen and we can see what we're talking about in the chart. So here is a chart. By the way, this is just a screenshot of something I found on who knows where. I thought it really was good in terms of letting us know, you know, what kind of the main themes in each of the houses. So right now we're here at the 7th house, which means that we've come through the first 6 houses of the astrology chart. Now, note that there's an angle here. This line that goes across here is a dividing line. The first one here is the ascendant. It's the entry point through which we enter into the planet. It represents the sign that was on the horizon at our birth. It gives us an idea of what our viewpoint will be. Remember, we talked about self and appearances in the first house as it was ruled by the sign that was on the ascendant. And then we moved into the second house of money. And so this was the I am house, the first house. And we have the I have house. And then we have the I think house. And then the roots, or the home house, house of home. Then I love, I create, and then I work, or my body. So these first 6 houses are very much about you and your closer in connections. So we saw mom and dad here. We see the 5th house of our children here, the 3rd house that represents our siblings, our neighbors, or our school chums, and our relationship to our possessions, and then the relationship we have to ourselves. Well, now the energy begins to shift as we enter into the 7th house. We start to go above the horizon. So where these were all very I-centric, these are all going to be houses that are about the we of it all. The we as in the collective, our relationships that we have with others, our relationship with other people's money, our relationship with others in education, with the career focus that we choose, with our ambitions, and finally with our secret self, or the parts of us that we hide. So these next 6 houses, excuse me, are really going to take us into more of the social atmosphere, or the way that we get along in society. So the 7th house is ruled by Libra and Venus. It is the house of relationships. It is the house of marriage, you could say. It is also the house of relationships like marriage. So partnerships, committed, live together kind of relationships. It can be boyfriend, girlfriend type relationships. It's committed. There has to be a level of commitment here in that relationship. It can be partnerships that are either business or personal. So if you form a business partnership with someone, there's a level here of the 7th house that comes into play because you're sharing resources here with one another. So partnerships, this is also where our relationships may take a darker turn, where we are seeing the things that maybe we don't like about ourselves in the faces of others, and they become our enemies, or our frenemies, right? The people that we necessarily don't like that well, or that we know don't like us. And as this is a house of partnerships, particularly business partnerships, contracts and agreements and all of that come through this particular house. So we have relationships, marriage, and other committed love relationships. We have business and personal partnerships. We have contracts, legalities, and agreements, and treaties, and contracts of every kind that you can imagine that are here in the 7th house, as well as the enemy aspect of things that are of people in our lives that don't exactly support us. Now, the 7th house is where we unite with someone else for the purpose of achieving something greater than just what we think we ourselves could achieve. Right? Think about the reason for marrying, right? There's usually the making a contribution of some sort, coming together to maybe have children and to build a life and have children that are for the long term, something that you can say you've contributed to the planet, right? We come together, or we unite for purposes of learning something, that maybe having learning how to cooperate, how to build something together. And that can be the purpose for uniting. I'm going to stop sharing the screen there because it's hard for me to see what's going on out there. It also helps us to see ourselves more clearly. And that is because the partnership house, or the 7th house, is often the mirror, right? It's our karmic mirror. If you look out into the mirror via the faces of people around you that you might have in partnership, or in marriage, or in a committed relationship, what do they mirror back to you, right? Are they showing you how awesome you are? Are they showing you how much you contribute to the world, or when you look out there, are you seeing conflict or anger or upset or abuse or any of the other more negative things that can pop up in relationships? Then, why are we in relationships, right? There's another question coming up through the seventh house. Are we in it for love? Are we in it for money? Are there practical considerations, right? In the old days, the contract of marriage was brought about because maybe warring factions or people who had I want those resources, they want my resources. So we have a marriage that comes together and brings cooperation into the picture, a practical concern, right? That I need your horses, you need my cows, we'll marry our daughters to our son, and then we have voila, more resources, right? So practical considerations, and or does the relationship somehow fill a void that you feel within you, right? And if you're committing to a relationship to fill a void within you, what is that going to show you about you, right? So things that we can ask ourselves about relationships. Relationships and partnerships, they teach us lessons. There are lighter and darker lessons to be learned through our relationships, right? There are lighter and darker sides of the union of people through contracts or through partnerships or through marriage. And thusly, things like divorce, breaking of contracts or agreements, lawsuits brought about because of someone breaking an agreement, either you bringing the lawsuit or them bringing a lawsuit if you break the agreement. So that leads us to an enemy status, right? Where you know that you're both enemies in this particular situation. That can eventually lead to war and conflict. Thus, the reason why the first and the seventh house, Aries and Libra, are often called the love and the war axis, right? Love and war axis, because those things that we normally think of as loving, great relationships can turn when we don't like what we see in the mirror and we begin a process of breaking down the relationship, or we don't live up, one or the other doesn't live up to the agreement of the relationship. And it's rare. It happens, but it's rare when a divorce or a breaking up, if you will, of a partnership or of a relationship has still a quality of friendship or love in it, right? Often it becomes a conflict or a war of the wills, a battlefield. And unfortunate, but that's sort of what happens. That's how our humanity plays out. It's how we look in the mirror and we see, why am I seeing that conflict? If we want to, we could really go deeper into the mirror and really heal our own selves by what we're seeing out there in our relationships. Our reactions or our responses to relationship challenges shape our experience. So if I see something out there in my relationship that reminds me of something that I feel like is a void within me, my reaction might be to project it out onto you and make you the reason why things are happening to me, right? You're at fault. I've blamed you. I'm now the victim of your actions. That would be more reactionary. But the seventh house also has us elevating that to responding, where I see something or I hear something out there in a relationship, and immediately I'm asking myself, why am I seeing that out there? What is this person showing me about me? Where I might be judging something or someone, where I might be judging myself because I feel like I don't have that quality and I want that quality. Where am I experiencing jealousy or possessiveness, or you name it, right? In whatever it is that you're seeing out there in your relationships is really meant for you to look at within yourself. Now, where you have good relationships, it's worth looking at what makes that relationship good, right? What have you two in a relationship learned about one another that makes it so easy to be together, right? What do they show you about you, and what are you showing them about themselves, right? So the other is always a mirror in the seventh house to what is happening for you personally. It's never what you think it is, right? It's never that person's fault, even in a breakup, even in the messiest of breakups, right? It's not that person, it's you. What is it showing you about you? Because it's the reflection. Now, that's not to say that that person is right and what they're doing is okay. It's not that at all, but it exists in your reality. Your feelings, your experiences are your own, but what does it mean to you? Right? What does it mean to you? If we all looked at our relationships that way and took responsibility for how it is that we are showing up in the relationship, we likely wouldn't have so many relationship problems. We would easily, seamlessly even heal that relationship or be able to walk away as friends, recognizing that maybe we both entered into this in the wrong way, at the wrong time, for the wrong reasons, right? We preserve the peace, but it doesn't mean we have to stick together, right? We can do that. So the seventh house shows us an awful lot about ourselves, an awful lot about who we think we are or who we actually are. So wherever it is whatever sign, by the way, is on the seventh house, often is going to show you the types of relationships that you attract to yourself. And if you have planets there, it's going to affect the quality of the relationships. It might even point you into what happens in the relationship. For example, if a planet like Uranus is in your seventh house, it might show where you have a lot of ups and downs, right? Where maybe you're both struggling for freedom, and what you assume is freedom is moving away from one another, and it tears the relationship apart instead of bringing it together where both of you have freedom within the relationship because you've discussed that quality in the relationship, right? You've worked this out. So planets tell you, make a variety of aspects to other planets that may have an effect on that seventh house. The sign there is going to tell us a lot about the types of people you attract to yourself and what types of things that you have going on in your own personal life. For example, a Jupiter in the seventh house can confer a lot of really good luck in relationships. It can confer good luck when you're in even a lawsuit sort of situation. It can also make you a responsible party if you have something like Saturn there. So lots of different things can be happening in that seventh house. So we're going to take a look at a couple of charts. But first, before we do that, I want to take a look real quickly, because yesterday I forgot to talk about the Pleiadian energy. I do believe. And this morning, funny enough, I didn't even have time to pull out the calendar and look at what day we are. I know it's a 4. Today we're at 4 enlightening. So no, that's not true. Today we're at 4 remembering. 4 remembering. So the energy of 4 in the Pleiadian-Earth energy. So for those of you who are new, here's the calendar. It is called the 2020 Pleiadian-Earth energy calendar, written by Pia Orlean and Colin Baird Smith, i.e. channeled by them from a group of people, entities, I'm not sure what to call them, from the Pleiades, called Larkma. And Pia and Colin have graciously agreed to come on the air with me once a month to talk about more of the calendar and what Larkma's message is to the world. And they will be with me on the 16th of October, so next Friday, to be able to talk us through what the message is for this month, perhaps. Well, today's energy of 4 takes us to a foundation. So the number is the universal energy of the day. So no matter what life form, no matter where in the universe or in our solar system, the resonance is with the number 4. And 4 is the first kind of check-in spot in our 13-day round, where we're actually getting to check back and see what was begun with the 1. And for us, that was at 1 planting, right? What seeds did we plant in the 1? Then how it split into maybe opposing ideas on the 2. Yesterday was the day 3, where it was becoming creative. We are possibly moving more toward our intentions. And today's the first check spot, right? The foundation. So are we building something from a foundation? Is it sustainable? Does it have holes in it yet? We slow the energy down on a day like today to be able to check in with ourselves to make sure that we can move to the next levels, right? So we have several little check-in spots throughout this 13-day period of time. Now, the energy of the earth. So the earth energy is the word. So today being for remembering. Remembering in the Mayan calendar was manik, which was the representation of the hand, right? The hand, or grasping, or being able to have as a tool to help other people out in the world. It's a very peaceful energy. It's a devoted energy. It is one where we have the spirit of cooperation with us. Interesting that we're talking about that with the 7th house today. So the spirit of cooperation and peace. And just for fun and grins, my husband this morning walked out to the front yard, the deck of the house, sat down to have his morning coffee. And he said, the lights turned on, like the motion sensor lights turned on. And here came a deer across the yard. And it didn't see him at first. And once he said, well, hello, deer, it decided to bolt and ran off. Well, Manik and remembering energy is also represented by the deer in the Mayan calendar. So deer energy, very strong, but peaceful, right? Docile until provoked, right? Don't provoke a deer. They have really strong hooves and they will kick you one. So deer energy for the day, remembering energy for the day. Remember who you are is the message, right? You're a being of love. You're a being of light. You are a divine being in a physical body, learning tons of lessons about how to be in that body, how to interact with everyone on the planet. So days like today remind us of the truth of who we are, which are cooperative beings, right? Co-creative beings, collaborating with one another to get ahead. And the 4 is the solidness that we need to have before we can move on to the next levels. All right. So Asa, my friend, who is out there? Let's see. Did I have a text from you? I thought I saw one. Here we go. So to go back to the first one, which was Amy and Patty, Patricia Woods. Okay. And I'm going to try to stay away from cards for the moment. So we're not going to do cards unless I have time toward the end here, because I want to take a look at charts, the 7th house. So let's take a look first at Amy Energy's chart, because she said she had 7th house stellium. So let me just bring that chart up for the moment. And thank you, Amy and Patty, for both volunteering for us to be able to see your chart. Amy, I need your last name. It starts with an M, I think. Amy. Totally went out of my head. Amy, not Mappa. Amy. Amy, what's your last name? I need your last name because everything in my program goes by last name. And I thought it was like M-A. Okay, Asa, can you get that for me? Amy Machado? Nope, not that one. Oh my gosh. So sorry, Amy. I have Amy Energy, but that's not how I have you in my more. I knew it started with an M. And there she is, March 12th. Gotcha. Okay, so let's bring up your chart, and I'm going to show the chart in whole house fashion, whole house style, and or whole sign. And no, I don't want a progress chart. I want a transit chart. There we go. So in just a moment, I'll share my screen and you'll be able to see your chart like I see it. All right, hold on here. Sharing the screen. Perfect. Now you guys should be seeing Amy's chart. And I'm going to bring this up just a titch so that we can take a look here at Miss Amy's chart. And she's not mistaken. She has a lot going on in her 7th house. So here's our dividing line, right? Or we could look at the ascendant, which is at 10 Virgo. And so opposite of that, what do we have going on? We have her Pallas Athena. She has Venus here. She has her prenatal solar eclipse. She's teaching lessons about emotions in a relationship. The sun is located here in her 7th house. Her destiny is located here. And Mercury is located here, all in the sign of Pisces. So first of all, Amy, with Pisces here on the 7th house, that would make, Virgo on this other side. Virgo is a sign often of pernicketiness, right? Pickiness and perfectionism. And there's a real discerning eye in that Virgo rising, or that Virgo first house. And it may be a place where you pick things apart, right? Where you instead of seeing the ideal of what it is that the person is bringing to you, you may start to pick it apart, or you're picking yourself apart in the relationship. Or even worse, you find a partner who picks you apart in the relationship. And really the mirror is all about, for you, why it is that you're judging yourself so harshly, right? How are you being too picky or perfectionistic about yourself before you get into a relationship, or in the confines of relationships? Consequently, you may have a lot of blaming, shaming, guilt tripping, projection type things going on in your relationships. But the sun and your destiny are both here. So you are designed, using human design words, to have relationships in your life, because you're here with the solar eclipse here, the prenatal solar eclipse, to learn about how to use relationships correctly, or how to be in relationships correctly, without the blame, shame game, without the guilt trip game. Pisces here is ruled by Neptune, and Neptune is moving through this part of your chart right now. So Neptune has power right now, and it may mean that you're not even seeing yourself clearly, that what you need to learn about is who you are. So even in retrospect, you can go back to people that you've had in relationship. You can look at your most powerful relationships and see what you learned in those relationships. There might be a tendency on your part to idealize relationships as well, where what you're seeing in someone is an ideal, but isn't real. And then when reality comes home, it bites, right? So you may have different relationships in your life that you can look at, many different relationships in your life that are going to help you see yourself clearly, to help you learn more about who you are, because the sun is here, right? And that's you. The sun is representing you here. And Venus is here. Love, unconditional love is what you're striving for. Pallas Athena here, a love that is free, right? Freely given and freely received. Your destiny is here. The North Node pushing you to make partnerships and relationships that have real, true meaning for you. And Mercury here certainly signifies having to learn how to communicate in your relationship. So you have so much going on here that you likely will have lots of different relationships in your life, and likely some of them turning into enemy type relationships too, just because of the blaming and the guilting and the shaming kind of stuff that goes on in your relationships. So you have lots to learn. So try stepping back in your relationships and see, what is it that you're idealizing in that person? Because we often get, we see the dream person, right? The dream relationship. Maybe, thinking back to what you value, maybe he's got the steady job and he's very foundation oriented. He's creative, he's artistic. But what you didn't know is that he's also an addiction type personality. He's drinking heavily. He's like your worst nightmare. But what you glossed over was all of that. You glossed over the warning bells, got into the relationship. And then when reality comes calling, which it will, when reality calls, then there is likely a blow up in the relationship, or some kind of conflict that may even lead to a breakup. But you got to look first at why it was you drew that person into your relationship. All right, I hope that makes sense. Let's see who else was, let me stop sharing that for a second while I go back and bring up Patty. I think you said buyers. So let's see if I have you. Yes, I do have you under buyers. Okay. Now, hold on. My computer's being slow. Let me share my screen again. All right. Now, Ha, that's so funny. Patty, your chart is the exact opposite of Amy's chart. So you have Pisces on the rise and Virgo over on the seventh house. So in a way, you are the idealizer, right? You are somebody else's perhaps ideal relationship, or at least that's how you see yourself in that relationship. But over here on the other side, Virgo is, something that's happening in where the ideal isn't real again, but the reality is that here you may have to sort of purify your intentions, your reasons for being in a relationship. What you're looking for is somebody practical and down to earth, and a more purified vision of a relationship. But we're still dealing with the same victim, martyr, victim, savior sort of energy here. And I don't know if it's you looking for someone to save you, or you playing the role of savior to other people, but basing a relationship on that is a sure recipe for disaster in the relationship. But you also have the part of fortune here. So when you start to rise above the need to see, to blame, or to project onto others, or to be able to enlighten others as to what they're projecting onto you, then joy comes from your relationships. You have Venus moving through here right now. I wonder if that's bringing you a new love interest, a new value system, getting clearer about what you value in a relationship. What do you want in a relationship? And yikes, you have the stellium in Capricorn over here in your 11th house, and they're all on top of Chiron at the moment. So there may be some wounding going on here. Maybe looking across your life right now, Patty, and wondering, where did my dreams go? And did they blow up on me? Or am I moving more fully now toward my dreams? Have things changed enough in my life to allow me to move more toward that which I really desire? Or taking the time right now to really look at what you desire. And let's see where Chiron is transiting. It looks like he's in your second house. So there could be financial concerns right now that you're dealing with. This is where Mars is also retrograde, conjunct Eris, and Black Moon Lilith not far away. So there's a lot of shadow energy here in your self-worth, in your finances, and getting clarity around what you want. Reimagine yourself. That's the best thing I can say for you right now. Reimagine yourself, and then attract to you relationships that mirror who you want to be, the high side of yourself, and not what you are afraid that you are, or the victim energy. So you want relationships that don't trigger the victim energy within you, right? That they're clear, they're strong, they're processing their own stuff, right? You want that kind of relationship, and not the one of the people that are still maybe dealing with idealism and addictions and disillusionment and disappointments. Okay. Who else did we have here? Asa, Amy, Amanda would like to, so wait, I got to go back to the beginning here. So Patty and Amy, I got your charts. Pauline, Galactic, Leslie, Zuber, I think she wanted a card. Debbie, those are card readings. Okay, so another astro chart, Amanda J. I believe that's Amanda Jeffs. Yep, let's go there. All right, Asa, can you please tell me if everybody is seeing the chart? Sometimes when I switch screens, it takes a minute for that to catch up, but I didn't stop sharing, so it should be up there. So Amanda, we're looking over here at Scorpio then in your 7th house. So, and also with the Sun and Mercury retrograde here. So I can already tell that likely with Mercury moving through here too. So likely the biggest stumbling block to relationships for you has been about communication. The Scorpio energy on the 7th house means you may have attracted to you in the past people who were jealous or possessive or very intense, who in some way wanted to hold on to you, kind of latching onto you. Or in a way, maybe that's what's happened to you, right? You're looking for someone that you can latch onto, that's going to be an anchor, that's going to give you that intense love energy. And the sun here, right, is kind of the key, that you need to first work on your own self, right? You need to really be strong in who you are, or what you'll end up attracting to you are those people that have those kinds of traits that you're not necessarily looking for. Communication is the biggest thing in this house, right? It's the communication between you and the other person, at the expectation of what is it that this is about in our relationship. Is this just love in terms of, idealized love in the moment? Or is this deeper passion, right? You're looking for passion, but that might be elusive at times, right? So there's the passionate part of yourself. Mercury's moving retrograde through this part. So that makes me wonder if maybe you might end up, funny, because you know what? Mercury's going to turn retrograde at 11 degrees of Scorpio. So I wonder if there's a new, not a new, but a relationship from the past coming back for you, that you have to work through the communication with that person. And yeah, this is very past oriented. So the best work I would say for you is to really look at the relationships of the past. And it can be love relationships, it can be business relationships, and discover for yourself what went wrong there and what was your role in all of that. Not to beat yourself up or to judge yourself, but to really be clear about who you were in that character. Now, the ruler of Scorpio is Mars and also Pluto. And if we look at Mars, Mars is transiting through your 12th house, and he's in retrograde, and you've already had a Mars return. Your natal Mars is retrograde. This is a great time for you to go through the dark places of yourself. And I mean it, right? Don't be afraid to go into the icky, gooey stuff, the stuff that, doesn't feel comfortable, and clear it out. Reimagine yourself, right? Rebuild yourself, reformulate who you are, from the very deepest, darkest parts of your soul to the very lightest part of the soul. So you want to go through this deep dive. The energy supporting that right now, and it will help you clear the way to more conscious relationships as you move forward from here on out. Uranus is in your first house right now, and that might be bringing you some new startling realizations about yourself, how you've played into the good and the bad in your relationships. So take a look at that. Be willing to go there. If you're not willing to go there, it's going to still dig at you from behind the scenes. It will still persist until you consciously decide to look at what lies there in the dark, right? What is that it is sabotaging you? Where have you put untenable limits on yourself? Or where are you blocking your own good? And where are you blocking your own independence is also another issue that may be going on here for you over the next while. Like, you've got a perfect time right now to go into the deep, to really start to go through all of the things that you want to let go of: health issues, relationship issues, work issues, confidence issues, self-worth issues, all of those things. Let them come up and work through them and release them, right? It's the time of the spleen, right? Where all of the gates on your spleen are being triggered by the sun moving through them, as well as Mercury moving through them. And it's a great time for us to look at the fear, to feel it, to recognize it, and to do what we'd want to, moving ahead in our lives fearlessly, consciously, and it zips right away, right? As soon as we're able to look at it and want to move ahead. Or you can keep doing, the dance with it all your life if you want to. That's also available to you. But I think pretty much the very reason that you're asking about this is because you want to get through all of this darkness. And there is light at the end of that tunnel, but it starts with you being consciously aware of what it is that's inside of you, what your beliefs are, what your thinking processes are that are stabbing you in the back, as it were, instead of supporting you. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing that one and go back over here. Asa, who was, thank you, J-Lo, would like you to look at her chart too if you have time. Okay, what time is it? 8:54. I have maybe another 6 minutes here. So J-Lo, Jacqueline Lopez. So let me go back over here, find your chart. And why is it so slow this morning? Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. All right, so Jacqueline is dealing with beliefs in her 7th house, right? Dealing with Sagittarian issues. I think what you need is a Harrison Ford in your life, right? You need what part he was in, God, I can't even, Raiders of the Lost Ark. You need an adventurer in your life. That's what you're looking for. Life for you is an adventure. Your North Node is in Sagittarius. So there's a freedom issue. There's an adventuresome issue here that you want in a relationship, but you don't know how to go about getting that and developing that for yourself because you have Neptune here. So intuition should guide you to the right people, and your perfect match would be someone then who is also looking for that adventure, for looking at life, following curiosity and going out with into new places with new experiences. This is a very experiential sort of relationship, and the worst thing that you can get into is someone who is a more Taurian type of person that wants to stay home, or a Cancer that wants to stay home and to stay, more sedate. You really need someone that's going to charge you up, who's going to challenge your beliefs, who's going to make you think differently, who's going to, get you outside of your old self, right? That wants to move you into a bigger picture of who you are. The ruling planet here is Jupiter, and Jupiter is transiting through Capricorn right now over here, where is up here in your 8th house. So there is a transformation going on anyway in your life, a very Saturnian transformation. Saturn is in your 2nd house, which means the Saturnian transformation that's occurring for you is about self-worth. Right? It's about really knowing your worth and knowing that you're worthy to be able to draw to you people that are going to cause you that kind of growth and expansion, that are going to get you out onto those mountaintops, right? That are going to get you out into that open sea, that are going to get you moving into new directions. So otherwise, yeah, and you're really, let's see, how old are you? I always forget. You were born in 75, so you're what, 45-ish. So you're past your Uranus opposition. That's the point I'm trying to make. You're not yet to your Chiron return, right? So this is the perfect time for you to start heading down toward that North Node, right? The North Node in Sagittarius, taking on the bigger life adventure, seeing with the wide field glasses and not the narrower ones that Gemini has. Sagittarius is a sign that wants to go deep into something, where Gemini on your rising side is curious about a lot of different things. So you need to be able to balance that curiosity of a lot, as well as being able to go deep. So a person, an educator, an adventurer, an explorer, an investigator, these are going to be great people for you to draw into your life, because they're going to cause you to move towards your North Node, the more of the adventurer, right? That person that gets out of their way. But you have to watch out for something here, is that you may draw people who are self-righteous, right? Who only believe in their way or the highway. You also have to watch where you get like that, right? I think this is playing into your gate 17 of opinions, where you may have very strong and powerful opinions and are very dedicated to sharing those opinions to people, but they may not be the right information, right? They're just opinions. There's no proven facts here. So getting out of your own way, embracing an open mind, and seeing things in a bigger way are all going to be maybe the types of people that you bring to you, that are going to help you see outside of the limited self. Woohoo! That's a good one, right? Fire, right? Fire and earth. So you almost maybe need people that escort you in some way, that allow you to, be passionate in a different way. All right. So, okay, now I have just 1 minute left. Okay, so I really am not going to be able to do card readings. We'll make sure we do that today. Tomorrow, being Thursday. So Debbie, Leslie, and Pauline. I'm putting your names. Debbie, Leslie, Pauline are on a list for card readings tomorrow. Okay, so we can get to that. Well, I hope you guys learned something new today about yourselves. Look at the 7th house in your own personal chart, discover the sign there and the planets that might be there. It will tell you a lot about who you are in a relationship, what you see as your faults and what you see as your strengths, because you're projecting them outward onto the other person. And then you can become responsible to live out the high side of your relationships, not the lower side of your relationships. All right, that's it for me today, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't already, please hit the thumbs up button if you like the video. Also, if you haven't yet subscribed, down below the video, you'll be able to do that. You'll see the little bell that tells you that you can hit for notifications. I would appreciate your support. Thanks much. Have a great day. Bye for now.